The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome to Old Space Show. I am Brandon, and this is the guy riding shotgun, Tony Schaab.
Hi, I'm Tony, and I've run out of car-related innuendos to say, so here we go.
How about vroom vroom, motherfucker? There you go.
I'll take it. There you go.
All right. Today, this series of Old Space Show, that car is Kit. We talk about him and his man, Michael Knight, on the first season of Knight Rider. Today, we're here to discuss episode 14, Hearts of Stone.
Yes, indeed. In this episode, Michael infiltrates the Corazones de Piedras, who are dealing with the Nun X-19, a powerful new automatic assault weapon. Unfortunately, he misplaces the money he is supposed to use to obtain the X-19.
All right.
Hilarity ensues.
Wah, 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 wah. Yeah, the Knight Rider theme as done in Benny Hill style.
I like it. Whoop, 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 whoop.
All right, this was directed by Jeffrey Hayden. First of 5 he'll direct. He did his career as a load of TV, but the coolest thing is he did Batman 1966. He directed.
Oh yeah,
2 episodes, which is obviously part 1 and part 2. That's street cred for me. Written by Robert Foster, who writes 13 episodes of Knight Rider, but produces 71 episodes of the show.
Boom.
And it stars David Hasselhoff, Edward Mulhare, Patricia McPherson, William Daniels, Mary McCusker, Rudy Ramos, Jeff Cooper, Sam Vlahos, and Zito Kazan. So this one opens with Michael having this secret meeting with a priest, and then going over some things for the episode, and then we see the semi and him docking on it to meet with Devin and Bonnie, and Bonnie has an adorable little pink jumpsuit on. Like, it's like a night. It's like if you bought a mechanic suit for like a onesie nighty thing type thing. That's what it kind of looked like. Pajama like mechanic outfit.
It's like if the girls do like the ladies these days kind of sometimes phone in their cosplay, right? Like, oh, sexy mechanic.
Yes.
Okay? Like, okay, like it's not functional at all, but
right,
you're in the ballpark, so partial credit.
Yeah, it's not quite going for super sexy. It's like kind of like it's a weird, it's a costume choice. So they're going over this thing, this X-19, which is an illegally manufactured super Uzi, and Michael mentions, he goes, "Yeah, it looks like something out of Buck Rogers or Star Wars." And to that I said, I was like, not Star Crush, David, not the Star Wars knockoff you were in.
Let's keep it close to home here. Not Battlestar Galactica? Like, come on now.
Oh, or it could have been that for the showrunner.
Who's not tooting their own horn here?
Yeah,
like, take your opportunities.
Come on, you guys. That would have fit Galactica. It would have fit. Yeah, but nope. They would Buck Rogers. Maybe it was like a dig at those. Maybe that's what they were saying.
I suppose it could have been. This episode really is kind of all about a lot of behind the scenes changes. This is where you get several shifts in the series in this episode. Like this, you significantly, like Devin in particular, his attitude kind of starts to change. Like he's in the first 13 episodes here, he's very like, he's tolerant of Michael, but he's skeptical, and he's always kind of like disdainful of him. And he's much more like supportive moving forward here. This is you get a Devon shift, you get a lot of Kit visual shifting, including the red voice box is gone now. Now Kit moves to the voice modulator, the 3-line voice modulator, which is the inverse of what we saw with Carr episodes back. So there's a lot of Kit's graphics are also better on his dashboard. There's several we'll in this episode to kind of move things forward to the future of Knight Rider.
Yeah, they're getting we're here for the haul. Maybe they got like a second season order already, and they're like, all right, we're going for this. Because this show was wildly popular. And it's funny because I think it was, not to crash and burn, but like it ran for 4 seasons. It didn't quite, or it ran for 4 or 5. It got to 100, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. So actually no, I think it was just 4.
Okay.
But so somewhere I think just the concept, people just got tired.
I mean, you have to keep it fresh here. This is, I mean, you have to keep things fresh and exciting. This is also the first episode where we saw the brand spanking new the mobile trailer. Now the generic white trailer is replaced by the Flag mobile unit, the big fancy black trailer now. So yeah, there's definitely been a step up in production cost and value probably here. So yeah, they're stepping up the game a little bit.
For those listeners going, Knight Rider ran for 4 seasons and 86 episodes. It didn't make the goal
so close
of 100, which was like, syndication. It was close enough that somebody would buy it, but 100 was the goal for any television show back in the day. Now it doesn't matter with streaming, but back in the day, 100 episodes would get you probably your show to play 3 times through the year. That was the goal. So you had a lot to offer to other networks and stuff. Kit, they go to Texas. They don't go to Mexico, but Kit gets confused. And like Michael goes into a place during his investigation, and like he goes, Michael, don't drink the water. He's like, we're not in Mexico, Kit. We're in Texas. He goes, I hear mariachis. Like, oh, dude, get.
Well, here we go.
And he had another one where he's like, Michael said something, and he's like, De nada, how's that? I'm like, Kit, shut the fuck up, man.
We can only explain away so much by you not having human emotions here. That doesn't mean that you could still have racism pretty clearly.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm sure it was a hoot for American audiences back in 1982. Let's not deny that they were probably like,
You're right. And for your eagle-eyed viewers too, even though we have had a significant increase in some of the production values that we just talked about like the graphics and things like that, even the scenes where they're driving around in Texas, a lot of the cars that Kit's passing still have California license plates. Like we're not paying that close of attention. Like it's just another day at the office here on the back lot. So
true. There is a drive-by shooting scene with a pickup truck using the X-19. Like that thing's clearly out the window, and we're like for a moment earlier. One thing I like about this episode, to jump a bit forward here, is Michael runs into it. There's this woman involved. And
of course there is.
Set up. This is Michael's damsel floozy, but it flips. Like, because Michael gets this money he's supposed to use for this deal thing, and it gets stolen from him, but it's the woman that he was investigating about stuff. And she was the innocent girl that we see every week on this show, but she ends up being not quite the villain, but at least for a moment, she's a cog in this. And she's in love with this guy, that they can't be together. They need to move from town, and knowing that the money was there, they'd be able to get out of there and have money as well. So they took the advantage.
Yeah, it was an interesting subplot of the divide. I mean, it was interesting. Again, I give the writers, I don't know if there was 8 writers on this episode like there was last episode. I doubt it, but I give them credit for shifting things up and not doing just the same thing week over week over week.
And these two like kind of hold Michael at, like Michael's like, well, I need this money or whatever, but there's kind of a contention between him and then there's the overall contention with the cartel or something going on, or some sort of like gang with this. But yeah, it's mainly about some star-crossed lovers with this X-19 deal that are in the middle of it, and his people and not really her people, but
yeah, it's another episode. This is the third episode now in a row where we've had some sort of, for lack of a better term, international flavor mixed into the main plot point, right? Like last week's episode, it was a Latin American country. The week before that, I think it was generic unnamed third world countries,
right.
but we're getting more of an international
border.
Yes, that's right, international flair here. We're trying to maybe they got tired of doing the same close to home things, or they wanted to make sure that not all the bad guys were American bad guys. You can have some international bad guys too out there and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. There was a cool part. So the girl we first get her to be revealed because she shows up at the drop and steals the money and gets in a helicopter to go. And there's a point where they're fighting and Michael tries to get out to jump, like he jumps on the helicopter. You get this like really awesome like POV shot of like Michael's hands reaching up to the helicopter, which feels like they're, going for it a bit more. That's what they're doing. And Michael like hanging out the top of Kit.
This is the second episode now that Michael has jumped from Kit to copter. We had one earlier, a few episodes back now, where there was a much more low stakes, low speed chase. It felt like, but and then of course he got into the helicopter and managed to throw out the pilot and pilot over. Since they were conveniently located over a pond, they fell harmlessly into the water. But yeah, this is similar, where you've got that helicopter chase, and once again, I don't take offense to much editing problems. I take it all with a grain of salt. But this episode, after the helicopter chase is done, Kit's driving, or towards the conclusion, Kit's driving down a dirt road. And this happened last week too, which I forgot to mention. It's happened several times now where they're driving down a dirt road or rough patches. They are off-roading it. It's very clearly off-road, and you still get the tires are screeching like he's on a pavement. I'm like, you have to stop, like Foley guys, you have to stop adding it just because it sounds cool and exciting. Like he's not on it. There's no way these tires are screeching. They have nothing to screech against. Please stop. But it's so obsequious. It's right there. Bad Foley guys. Bad.
Yeah, you got some like gravel peeling stuff like that. Cooler. Like, I mean,
some generic, go down the hall and borrow from the Dukes of Hazzard guys. Like, they definitely have off-roading noises. Like, go borrow some of their stuff. It'll be fine.
Don't take the slide whistle, and we don't need Waylon Jennings.
I'm genuinely shocked that we didn't get. I'm trying to remember if these shows on. Dukes of Hazzard more late 7. I'm trying to remember if these shows were physically on at the same time.
Would have been ending as
how did we not get a crossover? Like, if you can get the Flintstones meeting the Jetsons, how do we not get Kit meeting the General Lee? Like, that makes no sense to me.
So Dukes like Knight Rider happened like in the middle of Dukes of Hazzard, because Dukes of Hazzard went from 79 to 1985. So they both about ended at the same time, and Dukes of Hazzard went for 146 episodes.
Yeah, how did this not happen? Like, how do we not jump the shark and get these two cars together? I genuinely don't know how that didn't happen.
That is strange. That is very interesting. But alas, it was not to be. That's wild. That's wild.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Kit also tells Michael when he's trying to figure out how to push off telling that he lost the money, like, he goes, "I'm not constitutionally constructed to lie." It's like, okay.
Just be borderline racist, that's all.
Yeah. Then Michael does have a big heart-to-heart, like, which I kind of like about like Michael with the woman in it, where he's like, because she's giving her damn sob story, but he's like, you can't make a new start till you clean this one up first, because there's a lot going on about this money. He's like, there's more than just you and Roberto at stake, and he's like passionate Hasselhoff.
It's very serious.
So I was like, I was like, it's a pretty big moment there. So Michael also gets tricked in this when there's this guy that's a drug leader, a gun runner leader named Emil, he goes to the one side of the bad guy's house, and he comes out and it's like, hey, he's a friend of Emil's too. You're a friend of Emil? He's like, oh yeah, Emil. Yeah, I don't like going down there. Haven't seen him in a while. And he leaves and it's like, yep, you don't know me because I am Emil. And I've just gotten out of prison. And there's also, oh God, Michael had a bad line here too. Devin shows up to talk to Michael about things, to tell him about Emil getting out of prison. And he goes, I happen to be in the neighborhood. And Michael's like in his like boxers at this hotel. And he's like, and I happen to be a high wire walker on my way to the circus. Like classic
Devin does
Michael.
get progressively kind of, it gets saltier and saltier as things progress here. So
yeah. So this one ends in this big shootout. And because like Roberto's family convinces him, like, hey, you gotta put up here with this stuff you're originally involved in. And so she and Michael, the girl and Michael, show up to it in the middle of the shootout, and she just runs in the middle of it screaming for Roberto. I'm like, you dumbass, like what are you doing? Like what? Like yeah, but luckily Kit comes in, grabs her, and they're bulletproof, and they end up taking care of everybody. And Michael has some strings pulled for Roberto at the end so they can be happy. And Devin then says, all I need to learn now is the Texas two-step.
Right. Michael, he says, yeah, I would have thought you would prefer a Viennese waltz or something. Yeah, I mean, like, we get it. He's European. Like, again, we're treading that very thin like racism line across the board here. So it is what it is. For the 80s, it is what it is.
We get it one more time from Kit at the end when Bonnie shows up in a dress and he goes, yes. Bonnie, I chi wah. And I was like, so oh bad. God.
So bad. And Michael's like, show off. I'm like, what are we showing off? The racist overtone? Yeah, whatever. So
well, and then there's this hillbilly guy we haven't talked about. He shows up in this little hot rod wanting to race Michael, and Michael decides to get in Kit and do it and leaves him in the dust. But
yeah, that was one of the few, like, most episodes have like these funny, it has some comedy kind of inserted. This episode was very, very serious up until that little bit with the race challenge. It was a very serious episode. Like take your Emmy clips from here and then move on, I guess, whatever. So
yeah, but that's what but this was a pretty action packed. I like the left turn they take us, having been 14 deep now. And like, okay, they're comfortable with Michael meeting some girl and then, helping her out or something. And then boom, she turned on him, but they couldn't go all the way. She's actually a good person doing it for a good reason. But
there you go.
It was interesting enough.
It was.
It worked. I liked. Good action.
It's good. Yep. We're definitely, this is the part of the seasons in these 24 episode hour long, like it can feel like a slog. And we talked about that in the last couple of weeks, immediately post sweeps there, where it felt a little slog-ish, but they're definitely doing a great job of keeping things fresh and entertaining. This is a show I feel like that could have very easily fallen into the same thing week after week. Car chase, something goes wrong, Michael has to get out of the car and beat up a bad guy, end of story, on to the next one. That's just copy and paste. So they're doing a good job of keeping plot wise things fresh from week to week, which I do appreciate.
Well, and I like, and we gotta mention too, like, this is not, we record this and we do blocks of 3, so we'll watch 3 episodes within a week's time or so, and we'll record. And Knight Rider was intended to be watched every whatever night of the week it was on, once a week. That's when it was intended to be watched. And you watch it, you wait a week, you go next one. Sometimes it'll end, but it'll go off for weeks at a time because they'll take off random weeks here and there, and then there's a break between December and January before it comes back. There'll be a break in like March. So like the intended model and how people watch TV when this came out was once a week, and this is very much leaning on, I can see this being an incredibly enjoyable show in that format. Like, I think it probably enhances if you just picked it up once a week, watched it, and this isn't bad to watch 3 in a row. If I haven't done any 3 in a row yet, I think I've watched 2 of them back to back for these,
Yeah.
at most, because I try to watch them, give them the chance to be by themselves, and give the show
Sure.
the best chance it had because of the limitations. What it was, it's not like hey, people are gonna watch like 8 of these in a row. No, they might have watched like a 2 in one night thing randomly on a
Yes.
special,
Right.
but it's meant to be watched once a week, and I think it's top notch for that. Right at this point in the show, it's doing
100%.
quite a
Yes.
good job.
Yeah,
So
like you said, it's intentionally episodic, which is easy to
Mhm.
forget in this day and age
Yeah.
of if you don't watch 7 episodes in a row. Like Game of Thrones is the exact opposite of the prime example. Like, I know it came out every week on HBO, but I
Yeah.
felt like I went back and binged the series, and I got infinitely more out of watching 6 episodes at a time
Yeah.
versus watching one, waiting a week, forgetting half people's names, and then having a 7-minute recap before the episode begins.
I'll tell you,
So
in my
yeah.
old age, I do appreciate the previously on. I used to never care, and now I'm like, oh yeah, like especially like your Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, where you're like the what's it guy with the this and that, yeah,
Hmm.
or this guy, but not this guy with this really similar name.
Right. There's Tyrion and Tywin and Tyrion, and I'm like, I can't keep
And I
these
grew up
people
going,
straight.
I used to grow up thinking like, why don't people know these Star Trek and Star Wars characters' names? It's so easy. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm lost. Barely remembering character names on even like random, normal human dramas.
Sure.
But yeah, it's what it is, and it's funny. And like I always talk to people about classic Doctor Who. I'm like, yeah, people have the tendency like to watch a serial in one sitting, and like, oh, I got long and boring 6 parts. I'm like, yeah, but those 6 parts were meant to be watched 1 week,
Oh,
the next
100%.
week, and fill
Right.
time. Like,
It's like
so
appointment watching. Yes.
right. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, and if you know how to do it,
Yeah.
and so you can enjoy it watching it with in a row too. But
Yeah.
so that'll do it for this episode. Tony, once again, let's shift gears and move on to the horizon. Let people know where they can keep up with you.
Sure. So find me all over the social aspect of the internet, your Instagrams and Twitters and whatnots at Tony Schaab. And then you can come hang out with me at sciencefiction.com, where I am the senior editor, and we talk about all of the things pop culture and nerdy, the books, the TVs, the video games, the series, you name it. We'll talk about it, and I'd love to talk about them. So
all right. Hashtag Emil for real. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brand4KUHD, written work on whysoblue.com. There is going to be more here on the show, probably Monday, and then come back here Wednesday for Old Space Show with Tony and myself. More Knight Rider adventures, but from Old Space.
Brandon and Tony, not so lone crusaders in a dangerous world. The world of Old Space Show.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.